president in name only these last 4 years. Well, big Wall Street Journal story about that, plus some commentary from Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox News contributor, and Katie Pavlich, editor of townhall.com, also a Fox News contributor.
So does that make him Pino or Pino if he's president in name only?
President in name, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it.
I'm going to go
He's
with
a Pino. Pino?
I would say Pino.
It's Pino and the wino.
But I don't want to go down that. Charlie.
That's the ticket. Pino and
Charlie,
Pino and the
you were
wino.
up too late last night.
Yeah.
Come back to us. Come back to us, Charlie.
I like it, though. It's good.
Katie, in all seriousness, it's an indicting article. It's probably worse than we thought it was. I mean, everybody knows that he's AWL in this continuing resolution thing. But apparently he didn't talk to anybody, or hardly talked to anybody, except a few senior aides, and that was brief, and they acted for him. That's why I say president in name only. He hardly ever talked to Janet Yellen, his Treasury Secretary. It's a minor job.
Yeah.
He hardly ever talked to Lloyd Austin, Defense Secretary, another minor job, who himself was somewhat AWOL, you may recall.
Yes,
right?
missing in action while our troops were under fire in the Middle East.
He wouldn't talk to, who was it, Adam Smith from the Washington State, who was the head of the Armed Services Committee in the House, on the verge of the Afghanistan pullout, which is a big job, head of the Armed Services Committee, to talk to him. And all the while, we, the public, was being lied to. I mean, that's really what we were being lied to.
Well, we were being lied to, but we knew we were being lied to. I mean, we live in a visual era, and we could all see the way that the current sitting president was behaving. And this is a man who was able to get away with multiple felonies as a result of being incapable and not having his wits about him. We saw that in the Hur report, which both Democrats and the media roundly rejected. The White House attacked the reporters of the Wall Street Journal who talked about the Hur report. So this is not surprising to me. And I'm glad at the end of the term we're kind of wrapping up and saying, well, he's been missing for 4 years. But we've been saying this for 5 years, really. When he ran for the first time, was in the basement during his first campaign, wasn't accessible to media. They're constantly hiding things from everybody, saying that what you saw with your own eyes was a cheap fake or not real. I mean, this has been obvious for a long time. And for the party that says that they're all about democracy, they sure had a lot of unelected staffers making big decisions on behalf of the American people.
That's key point. That's key point. Jake Sullivan, Steve Ricchetti, Leo Brainerd. I mean, I'm astonished. I guess he flunked, by the way. I knew I meant something. The interview with Robert Hur, they did prep for the interview with Robert Hur, and he flunked that.
Yeah.
I mean, his own people said,
days of prep.
And apparently they couldn't figure out how to do it. And then he finally did it, and it was a disaster. And Hur said, I'd bust him, but he's such a kindly old man, nobody's going to. I don't know to this day how we got off on that. It's a terrible story. One other one of these big political stories. This one from Politico, talking to Tony Fabrizio, Trump's pollster, and Steve LaCivita, co-campaign manager. The importance of visuals. And they are saying, and they learned part of this from Trump, and part of this just kind of happened during the campaign. So picture this. Here's what, as you said, Biden is giving a big speech in the fake Oval Office, which no one would have watched. And then Harris gave a big speech on the ellipse that no one watched. I mean, it was a Washington event. No one watched that. Now, Trump speaks to like 5 people dishing out French fries at McDonald's, and it is an international visual.
Historic moment.
Don't you? A global visual, right? Okay. Second, Trump goes into one garbage truck. I don't know how long he was in the truck, 12 minutes or something, wearing a uniform. Global visual. Who do you think won those contrasts?
So my favorite.
There is. We got it on.
There he is. There, epic, iconic.
Epic.
My favorite meme, I think they call it on the internet, of Donald Trump talking to Jill Biden at Notre Dame for the big opening, and he's sitting there. She's listening intently, and he's sitting there, and the quote at the bottom says, "So after my shift at McDonald's, I went and bought a garbage truck." And the difference is this. Doing the event at the Ellipse or in the fake Oval Office is called welfare media.
Oh.
Going out to shovel fries at McDonald's is called earned media. And Donald Trump is somebody who has been earning media his entire life. And you know, getting into the pages of the New York Post And everybody thought that this was some, in the political world, they scoffed at this and scorned this, and they think he's a ridiculous whatever. They call him a carnival barker. And, the New York Times looks down their nose at him, and it's like, yeah, of course. The guy knows how to earn media. The guy knows how to grab people's attention. And by the way, this is a democracy. That's not a bad thing.
And the greatest visual, of course, was when he raised his fist after he was shot at.
Yeah, right.
Which I think we've played up, or we'll put it on the full screen again. I mean, those were lessons. There it is. Those were lessons from the campaign. It was just interesting. I mean, Politico asked 25 pages of questions, but the stuff that wasn't obvious and what Las Vidas said was so important was the visual. And the visuals helped Trump in ways that the Harris crowd never understood.
But also on the visual thing, I mean, you can create a visual. The key, too, is authenticity.
Yes.
I mean, you can create a speech at the Ellipse that totally falls flat, that gets completely taken over by your boss because he decides to do an Oval Office address after you kicked him off of the campaign trail. But when you look at the way that Trump handled all of these situations, it was authentic and genuine. I mean, the DNC was the fakest show put on by Hollywood producers that I maybe have ever been to. I mean, they were all waving American flags after years of saying that was too nationalist and white supremacist behavior. They brought out the camo, Harris Waltz hats, trying to get men to vote for them and claim that they were all about hunting.
In the woods wearing that thing.
Exactly. So, it's not just about the visual, which is obviously very important, but the authenticity behind what you're actually doing.
Speaking of visuals, didn't Joe Biden have a MAGA hat on the day he voted?
That's right.
Or the day before.
It was like
and
a week
Jill wore a
before,
red
but
suit.
He's wearing it at a firehouse.
And she wore a red dress that day.
Right. She did.
Which are visuals
Red
that
suit, yeah.
signaled to me who they voted.
She was very happy. I talked to a couple
totally
Democrats about that, and she said they were not very happy with the
Charlie,
wardrobe
it's possible
selection.
Republicans have learned through this continuing resolution fiasco, right? I was gonna say simple SH stuff. Simple stuff that should have been done in 24 hours or less. They can't get done now, and could face a shutdown, giving Chuck Schumer, God help us, control of the January 20th inauguration. But wouldn't that say, let's make this whole thing simple and not expect to have several, 2, 3 reconciliation bills next year, because our party can't even get together for 20 minutes in the House, and we don't hardly have the votes anyway. Just have one big, beautiful bill, which is what a certain source close to the president has said the president thinks. Notice how carefully I'm putting it.
Yes, exactly.
One big, beautiful bill. Did we not learn that this last couple of days? I ask you, Charlie Hurt.
Everybody that watched the election learned from the election, except some members and including Republicans. Obviously, Democrats are going to sit on the sidelines, and they want to watch failure occur right in front of them. But, you look at polling, the vast majority of Americans think that the country is in crisis. And when you're in crisis, just do simple, basic things. And that's what Republicans need to do, is simple, basic things to get into the new year.
Don't make this any harder than it needs to be. I'm sorry we're out of time. Didn't realize so much fun. Thank you both.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Larry.
Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas,
Yes.
Season's greetings, Happy New Year. You both have been wonderful to this show.
Thanks for having us.
Myself.